Welcome back to the Immortal Chronicles channel, friends. Today we're embarking on a fascinating journey through old Canada, exploring rare and precious images that capture the essence of a time filled with brave explorers and adventures worthy of a classic from the Old West. Get ready to see Canada like never before. Come along and uncover the incredible stories behind each photo. A crowd of eager miners lines up to register their gold claims in Dawson City in 1898 during the feverish Klondike Gold Rush. In 1899, a group of young ladies of the night gathered around a table in Whitechapel in the city of Dawson, in the Yukon Territory, at the height of the Klondike Gold Rush. A bustling street scene in Dawson, Yukon Territory in 1899 shows a crowd gathered around donkeys adorned with posters advertising a theatrical play. Grand opening tonight. In this unique scene, a flotilla of bold prospectors crosses the icy waters of Lake LaBerge in 1898, determined to reach the promising gold fields of Dawson in the Yukon Territory. Known as the Gypsy Queen, Mrs. Curly Monroe, wife of a local saloon owner, was an iconic figure in Dawson City around 1890. A Klondike miner moves along the challenging Chilkoot Trail in Alaska in 1897, accompanied by 5 indigenous porters and a convoy of 2 oxen. A historic scene of Vancouver's birthplace, originally called Granville, capturing Corral Street looking south, highlighting the famous Maple Tree Corner on Water Street in 1886. This iconic spot, with its symbolic maple tree, witnessed the city's growth and still preserves its historic charm, continuing as a popular gathering spot and vibrant cultural landmark in the heart of Vancouver to this day. This rare and striking photo captures thousands of hopeful miners, known as stampeders, in the foreground, waiting to climb the steep summit of Chilkoot Pass. In the background, endless lines of packers brave the harsh Arctic weather as they slowly advance, bearing heavy loads toward the Klondike goldfields in Alaska in 1898. Babe Wallace was one of approximately 85 night workers drawn by the promise of prosperity to Dawson City, Yukon, during the Klondike Gold Rush. She is pictured here in a studio around 1896. Four prospectors tackle the arduous Chilkoot Trail near Sheep Camp, Alaska in 1897 during the Klondike Gold Rush. Carrying heavy loads over steep, snowy terrain, they face extreme conditions on one of the most legendary routes to the northern goldfields. A photo of the corner of Front and Wellington Streets in Toronto, Ontario in 1888. This historic intersection was later transformed with the construction of the iconic Gooderham building, known for its triangular shape, which became an architectural landmark of the city. The itinerant Ladies of the Night of the Klondike pose in front of the modest tent where they worked, around 1880. Traveling from place to place, these pioneering women made their living amid the harsh conditions of the gold rush. Members of the Kootenai First Nation indigenous people on horseback in Donald, in the East Kootenai region in 1884. This near-ghost town is located on the northeast bank of the Columbia River. Indigenous peoples had been on this land for thousands of years before European explorers arrived. Three people pose with a team of sled dogs on Dawson Street, Alaska in 1898. In the background, the Pioneer Bakery and Cafe is visible. a popular gathering spot for adventurers of the Klondike Gold Rush. In this 1898 photo, men stand outside Mary's Hotel, located on a mining claim in the Bonanza Creek area, south of Dawson City in the Yukon. Mary is seen outside the door. During the summer, she grew lettuce on the cabin's roof. May Stanley, pictured here in a studio around 1898, was one of the many women who worked as dance hall entertainers during the Klondike Gold Rush, selling whiskey and dancing with men, which was permitted by law. Mr. Rupert Fulton poses in front of his Lakeview dairy wagon in Vernon, British Columbia in 1910. A woman arrives on the bustling streets of Dawson in the Yukon Territory in 1898, accompanied by a team of sled dogs carrying her luggage. A group of Shuswap indigenous people poses in front of tents at Tete Jaune Cache in 1912. This location, used for centuries as a gathering and trading spot by indigenous peoples, served as a vital pass through the mountains. Kitten Faith, a farmer's daughter whose real name was Henrietta, arrived in Skagway at the height of the gold rush in January 1898. She initially worked as a madam in a large gentleman's resort, and in 1905 she opened her own saloon. The Red Light District, located on 7th Avenue, was shut down in September 1909, and Kitten Faith was the last madam to leave the area. Elated miners display large, newly discovered gold nuggets during the famous Klondike Gold Rush around 1897. In this 1912 photo, a mining engineer and his dogs hitch a ride on an improvised rail cart, traveling from Shelton to the town of Nome, Alaska. The photograph shows people inside and around the Pacific Express train of the Canadian Pacific Railroad, near the river and tunnel in Kicking Horse Canyon, close to Golden, around 1890. This monumental railway, completed in 1885, was crucial in connecting the remote British Columbia to the rest of Canada, facilitating transportation and boosting economic development as it crossed the mountains and opened up the Canadian interior. Rose Blumkin, known as the Fairy of Dawson and later of Nome, officially worked as a receptionist and ticket seller at the Monte Carlo Theatre, despite not knowing how to dance or sing. However, her love for fine jewelry and ball gowns, along with her police record, suggests that she also worked more intimately to support her extravagant spending. A Blackfoot chief and indigenous women from his tribe, dressed in ceremonial attire adorned with beads and feathered headdresses, gather at a powwow in Calgary in 1901 to celebrate the visit of the Duke of Cornwall and York. The Magnet Roadhouse in Grand Forks, Yukon, circa 1898, was built by Belinda Mulrooney, one of the most influential businesswomen of the Klondike Gold Rush. This was the first roadhouse on Bonanza Creek, about 10 miles southeast of Dawson City, providing shelter, meals, and supplies to prospectors braving the arduous path in search of wealth in the far north. Klondike Kate Rockwell, known as the Queen of the Klondike, was one of the most famous and daring women among the girls of Dawson, captured here in a studio portrait. Born Eloisa Rockwell in 1876 in Kansas, Kate made and lost a fortune as a good-time girl during the Gold Rush. Several pack mules wait outside the Bartlett Brothers' offices in Dawson, Yukon Territory in 1899, loaded with essential supplies for the mining camps. Jefferson Soapy Smith is prominently seen at the counter of his bar in Skagway, Alaska, shortly before his death on July 8, 1898. Soapy was a notorious swindler who roamed the American West, leaving his mark as one of the most cunning and infamous conmen of the era. A street scene in Dawson, Yukon Territory in 1899 shows mules loaded with timber essential for construction during the height of the Klondike Gold Rush. A group of freight wagons, many carrying large boilers, is gathered west of Grand Forks, British Columbia, around 1900. A couple poses in their buggy-style wagon for a photo in the East Hill area of Vernon in 1910. This type of transport, common among pioneer families, reflects the leisurely pace and the developing agricultural life in the British Columbia countryside. A group of men boards a stagecoach in Kaslo, traveling along the west shore of Kootenay Lake in the West Kootenay region, heading to the mines in 1893. Kate Rockwell gained fame as Klondike Kate by dancing in vaudeville shows during the Klondike Gold Rush in the 1890s. Beloved by miners who spent lavishly on her, the spirited dancer was engaged over 100 times and married at least 3. People gather outside Charles Anderson's grocery store, located at 164 Cordova Street in Vancouver in the 1890s. Portrait of a pioneer family from North Vancouver, taken around the late 1890s. A settler couple from the Canadian prairies, along with their children, heading to market in their ox-drawn wagon in 1904. Ox teams hauling freight wagons in Ashcroft in the Thompson Country region of south-central British Columbia in 1886. These wagons were essential for trade and supplying remote communities. A team of dogs pulls a cart through the streets of Dawson City, Yukon in 1900, displaying promotional banners for local businesses such as Dr. Lee Dentist, Comet Shaving Parlor, and Star Laundry and Bath House. Mr. Tim Vogt, alongside his wife Lena and their daughters, poses in the idyllic Nicola Valley in 1908, situated in the rain shadow of the Coast Mountains between the majestic Lillooet and Canadian Cascade Ranges. People in front of the Hudson's Bay Company store, located at 150 Cordova Street in Vancouver in 1889. This location was a vital center of trade and supply for residents and newcomers to the area, symbolizing the economic expansion and influence of the Hudson's Bay Company in the development of Western Canada. A crowd gathers to celebrate the 4th of July on Front Street in Nome, Alaska, in 1900. At the time, Nome was one of the largest cities in the Alaska Territory, flourishing with the gold rush and attracting adventurers and immigrants in search of opportunities. The inside of a saloon and barbershop in Steveston, around 1900, reveals 2 bartenders ready behind the counter while customers occupy the back of the room. View of unidentified indigenous people with horse-drawn travois, likely gathered for the traditional summer fair in Lethbridge in 1910. A family group, possibly of Cochin ethnicity, poses outside their tent in 40-mile Yukon Territory in 1898. A typical saloon in Douglas, southeast Alaska, in 1908, showcased the rustic charm of the bars of that era. It was a gathering spot for miners, fishermen, and adventurers who would come together after long days of work to unwind. Men proceed with a dog-drawn fire wagon to fight a fire in Dawson, in the Yukon Territory, in 1899. A crowd watches the scene on the main street. A bustling and muddy front street in the town of Nome, Alaska, in 1900, captures the chaos and vitality of a city driven by the gold rush. Miners, merchants, and adventurers crowded the street in search of opportunities. Dear time traveler, thank you for joining us on this journey. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a comment. It really helps our work. See you soon in the future in our next video.